Try again. Good evening and welcome to our Tuesday, May 6, 2014 meeting. Before we start the meeting and have roll call, I'd like the council to say a few words on this very unfortunate tragedy we all had here Sunday. So before we start the Pledge of Allegiance, Councilman Kowalczyk, would you like to say a few words about our loss to the community of Andrini and their family? We'll all try. It's a tough one. No, I'd like to just start the meeting in his memory and his honor and with our Pledge of Allegiance. I think it's appropriate that we do it now. It's up to you if you want to do it later, but I thought...
I can try.
Yeah, I know. Go. Just a few quick comments.
I can't even begin to summarize the contributions of the Andrini family to our community, and those in particular of Eddie Sr. and the tragedy of his passing this last weekend in such a tragic and public and horrific way. And I pray for his family, I pray for him, and I'll try and just share one thing that occasionally Eddie Andrini would invite me for a tune-up, as he'd call it, and that was his indication to me to visit him so he could make sure I knew his perspective on things. And I won't be able to have any more tune-ups per se, but I certainly will keep him in my memories. And as I help govern this community, I will reflect upon what he means to this community, and to the extent I can carry forward his energy and passion and commitment, I will try to do so.
Thank you, Rick. Councilman Patridge, are you able to say a few words at this time, or you want? No, I'll let you.
Well, I've known Eddie for a long, long time, and his whole family. I guess I used to have breakfast at Moonside Bakery, and once a week I would have my little breakfast with Eddie, and he would always give me heck. So, Rick, you weren't the only one. That was the way he cared about the community, and that's how he shared his love for the community. He wanted to make sure what we were doing was right, and that it didn't matter how we felt, it was how he felt and how he wanted things to go. But I think the greatest thing that just happened recently was when we did Main Street paving, and Eddie was in charge, and he went to all the merchants and explained to them exactly what was going to happen, how it was going to happen, and when it was going to happen. So he really was a spokesman for the city when he did that paving job, and we were so grateful because he did not mess up any of the timelines, and he made sure he was on and off of there when he told the merchants he was going to be on and off. And so I think that's the way Eddie did everything. He was well organized, and he thought through things, and he really cared about this community. He had a strong voice. He was opinionated, but I respected that man. We may not have always agreed, but you know what? We remained friends all these years, and I cherish that.
Vice Mayor.
Well, it can be a real testament when you find an entire community is just so shocked and saddened, and that just shows the depth and breadth of Eddie's involvement in the community. And there's so many things that people have no idea what he's done through the years, helping out and helping people. It truly is one of those great American success stories where, a local boy, a farm boy, worked for his father after school, became a man who created a major business in this community, employed so many, and then became world-renowned because of his hobbies and his interests. And as Rick and Naomi, and I'm sure John will say, we've all had an earful from him from now and then. And he talked about how things were done much simpler, much quicker, and much less costly in the past. And he's right. We live in a different time. But the true legacy, I think, is his family and how giving he was, and the whole Andrini family, Mario and Eddie Jr. and Sandy, and of course Linda. You think of all the community fundraisers they participated in. So it's more than just a man who flew planes, and I think that's where everyone is going to miss. But you have to say Eddie lived his life and loved his family, and that's, if you can do that in your life, then you are truly blessed, and we were blessed to have him be a part of our community and have a friendship with him.
Thank you, and I think all of you and all of the city is standing by to do whatever it can to help him continue to move forward with this unfortunate situation, and I know the love is out there with everyone. And he really was taken from us, but he was the coastline. He was Half Moon Bay. He didn't have to be governor or mayor or whatever. He was the man we could go to. And it didn't matter who you were, he'd take care of you. And let me tell you, they were working on our pipe recently, and he would be in the ditch with a shovel and then be flying world air shows somewhere. So God bless them and their family. And we will all stand by. And I think when we have our roll call and Pledge of Allegiance, this meeting is dedicated to Eddie Andrini. Thank you. Roll call, please. This is very unusual for all of us, but we have to do it.
Here.
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 Here, and I'm sure Councilmember Alafano would be right alongside of us here saying the same thing. He is out of the country. Otherwise, he did send a message to me and condolences to all the Andrini family. So, a little extra Pledge of Allegiance tonight.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And we do know there'll be more tears for the week ahead, trust me. And it's okay. It's all part of our life. So at this time, we have the mayor's announcements, and I will just briefly go through them as best as possible. First one is Coastside Land Trust, and their representative was here a minute ago, and she still is. Yeah, Joseph. They're having a session this weekend, and when you're up, you could kind of catch me up on a little bit too, and we could learn about the species and the beautiful birds that fly in our skies. That's going to be on May 10th. May 15th, also another dear friend will be in here. She'll speak about this in a minute, but our youth summit is coming up for all of our wonderful youth and all of our participating groups that are helping put this together. And May 17th is Rock the Block is coming up before we know it, and May is going by. And I think we have to mention that this Sunday is Mother's Day too, so don't forget, Mr. Alex, that Mom's Day is here. It's your first one, so if any other council members have announcements, they're more than welcome to make them, otherwise we'll continue moving on. And so at this time, City Attorney, I don't believe we've had any closed session, but you might mention how the agenda is set up this evening a little bit.
We will have a closed session after the regular open portion of the meeting to discuss the city manager position.
Thank you. City Council reports. Councilmember Patridge, please.
Okay, first I served on the interview panel with Vice Chair David Canepa to select 6 people to serve on the Transportation Authority Citizens Advisory Committee. Then, of course, we also attended the special meeting on the bridge and attended the Council of Cities in Half Moon Bay. And it was an interesting panel. It was about the update of returning and releasing of prisoners in our county. And after listening to everybody, it's like San Mateo County is ahead of the curve in handling the situation with these people. And I'm proud to say that they really are doing a great job. And to hear what they're doing with the prisoners and educating them and giving them the services that they need was really kind of inspiring about what they're doing. I attended the Congestion Management Environmental Quality Committee meeting, and then we approved the Transportation Authority Shuttle Program for the 2014-15 and 2015-16 fiscal years. And we approved the allocation of the remaining funds from the $4 vehicle registration fee to the countywide congestion management. And the city will be happy to hear this. We will be getting some extra money for stormwater pollution prevention program. So that will really help all of us in the county. We recommended approval of $1,390,000 to the priority development areas in Belmont, Millbrae, and Redwood City, and that will go to CCAG, and they will either approve it or disapprove what we've recommending. We also approved and recommended approval of the updated San Mateo County Priority Development Area Investment and Growth Strategy. Last meeting, I remember I told you about the feasibility of the express lanes. Well, we are going to go ahead and we did the study parameters for the feasibility analyst, and so we are going to be looking at express lanes on US Highway 101 on the south end. Yeah, so that will help maybe some of the congestion. We don't know yet. I think the one thing that came out of that congestion management is I've always been saying that I would really like to have a priority development area in Half Moon Bay because you get more money, funding, availability. And so I don't know how many of you remember when we had redevelopment and we had downtown area as the redevelopment area. And we said that we would try and develop downtown more so than outline because all the infrastructure's here. And we also increased the density for, multifamily, all those kind of things, and gave priority on Measure A funds for that. So I think we need to look at that and then try and see if we can get that approved as a priority development area to help bring more money into the city. So I think that's something maybe, John, maybe we can talk about and look at and doing that. Because right now, most of the funding is going to the priority development areas, regardless of its housing, transportation, streets, whatever. They are getting the majority of the money. So we need to find an area that we can do that with. Attended the San Mateo County Transportation Authority meeting. We reaffirmed our investment policy and reauthorized to invest monies with the local agency investment fund. We set June 5th for the public hearing on our fiscal year 2015 budget. We authorized $750,000 for the grade separation on Ravenswood Avenue in Menlo Park. Menlo Park has the first time that they've ever applied for any money, so it's kind of nice to see that the other cities are becoming involved. May 10th will be the official ribbon cutting ceremony for San Bruno grade separation. If you want to see a tremendously beautiful project that was done by the TA and other people, it is absolutely fabulous. It was at that worst intersection of San Bruno when you went. That has all been, it's just really magnificent. So if you get a chance, you need to look at it. We approved $5,711,414 for Measure A funds for the shuttle projects and programming. And Vice Chair Dave Canepa and myself presented the candidates to be appointed to the TA Citizens Advisory Committee, and they were all accepted and approved. Attended the YMCA Heroes Breakfast along with Alex, and it was really fun to go, to see the different groups being recognized. And South Coast from Pescadero was honored along with 4 other organizations. So it was quite a breakfast. It was really, really nice.
Councilman Kwolchek?
Thank you, Mayor. A couple of things. I attended the Council of Cities dinner, an event that was hosted at Half Moon Bay. For those who may not be aware, that is an event where we meet with the other elected officials from San Mateo County and understand the issues and concerns in their communities and the things they're doing that we can learn from. And we talked about the jail population and how that's being handled, and I completely agree. And I'll look toward our lieutenant as I say this. It really feels, and not just feels, it is clear that San Mateo County is ahead of the curve, and I like that, and I really appreciate all of the folks that work hard to make that happen. I attended the special bridge meeting where we made the decision to conduct testing of the existing Main Street Bridge and factor that into our decision process going forward. Also participated in the Sewer Authority Midcoast meeting where we welcomed our new Sewer Authority Midcoast General Manager, Rob Hopkins. I will invite Rob to come introduce himself at a subsequent City Council meeting. Also at that meeting, we approved for distribution and review the SAM budgets, and there are 3 separate and distinct budgets that will be coming before us for the council to review and approve. That goes out to all the member agencies. And I can't believe you didn't mention this, Naomi, that I also attended the special joint meeting of the City Council and the Planning Commission where we gave direction to staff to develop a new permanent skate park adjacent to the Ted Adcock Center. Thank you.
Vice Mayor, please.
I attended the Office of Emergency Services JPA meeting, and it is now going to be broadcast on Penn TV. We've met in the past down in the jury room of the county, so we've been upgraded to the supervisors' chambers, and we're broadcast live and then also rebroadcast as well. The main issue that was coming back is we're renewing the JPA agreement. The budget has remained flat, but it'll be coming back to the cities. There was some key language that through the drafts back and forth that the state required in that for emergencies, and there's also opportunity for any changes, but that was the main part of that. I also attended a conference on electric charging stations for communities and municipalities at SAP over in Palo Alto, and had a great opportunity speaking with Santa Clara, San Jose, and different cities that have installed charging systems and their thoughts about them, but really also found out a lot about the different levels of charging. And I can share that information with staff, and I know we have staff that has been working on that. So I think that's going to be coming back to us soon. And there was some key people that are willing to come to Half Moon Bay and talk to us more about that and availability. There's also opportunities for revenue streams. But I had to tell the guy that had the solar powering charging stations that wasn't going to work out too well for us, since we tried that with our pay station at the parking lot at Poplar Reach. Also was at the Peninsula Congestion and Traffic Relief Alliance, and we talked about the upcoming Bike to Work Day, which happens to be this Thursday. And the Coast Side will have an energy station out in El Granada by Alhambra, where they have in the past. And just along that subject, maybe the interim city manager can make some comments during his report. Because of the usage of our bike trails, now people go to work using those, students use them to access schools. I have been getting feedback from the community on the ramp that was broken over in Miramar, of the bridge over there that the state is working on. And people want to know what can be done to what involvement they can do, who can they call to help go this along. Obviously, there's going to be levels of permitting that take X amount of times, and if it's a money holdup through the state, maybe we can float that money to them till they get it back. But that's really become an inconvenience, and it's not just for our tourists. It's for the people who live here, who do use it to go to work, or students going to school, and people for their recreation. So that has had an impact on there. And also, just the library outreach that we've been doing has just been fabulous. Friends of the Library have been great, and our architect and their group have been really wonderful. We've gone out throughout the community to different storefronts, thanks to Brazelberry, thanks to the Mercado over at the New Leaf Shopping Center. And the library itself has held open houses. We have over 700 responses from the community, just from that, everywhere from kids to seniors. And I want to thank Aaron Torme at the Farmers Market for giving us the opening season spot, but a great spot too. And now that we're in a phase 2 of this, we've got more relevant pictures and things for community. So it was great. They had the pictures for the youth rooms down at the bottom. So we had kids putting on dots on areas that they liked. And we also had comments from people on the exterior that they would like to see, also streetscape, landscaping. So what I've been really happy about last year is, and the difference between last year and this year, is last year when we had the kiosks out just starting to get some outreach, people had said, really, are you really going to do it this time? Didn't we talk to you years ago? And it was like, yeah, and that's all I kept hearing over and over. So to be at this point now, and didn't hear that this time, it was people were, oh, this is great. They were happy to be involved. And I did hear people, let us know when you start your fundraising for it too. So I know this is happening. The community is starting to embrace this, but getting input is doing really well. And we do have another library community meeting on Thursday night at 7 o'clock here at the library. At 7 o'clock here at the library. 7 o'clock Thursday night. Come join us. So yeah, thanks.
Well, you could see the city council gets out and about and does some things. So first things, the study session we had regarding our Main Street Bridge, we were required by our environmental studies, CEQA and others, that we are consensusly agreed that we will be doing testing on the bridge. And I'm sure our city staff will mention a little bit about that on where we are and where we're going with that. And while we're talking about the Main Street Bridge, there's a lot of misinformation that gets put out there regarding different issues. And I had the opportunity to visit with the mayor of Healdsburg, who has a bridge issue too. And so she and I will be getting together again soon. And very similar situation. And they're 7 years into their project right now, 7 years. And it is a steel bridge. It is not totally concrete. So, but I think we're moving forward with that, and we're trying to listen and do the best we can to represent this community. Also, we have to admit that I did get up at 5:30 in the morning, and Lieutenant Muncie arranged for me to have a sergeant pick me up and go out during this triathlon, which was a great learning experience. At 6:30 in the morning, we were at the harbor. There was a fog issue, and I think our interim city manager is going to be talking about this also. The people there were just so enthused. It was just amazing. And there was hundreds of people. And unfortunately, the fog delayed the process a little bit along the way there, a lot actually. And then the event went off, and unfortunately, it did cause some pretty major delays for our residents, and it was a situation that, as I said, will never happen again as long as I'm here, and I think the rest of us and staff. And along that line, we put together a follow-up staff meeting with Lieutenant Muncie, Sergeant Sheridan, Battalion Chief from CAL FIRE, and our staff, Stuart and Dante and myself, and then a representative from AMR, the emergency response people. And so we had a very good, and Ryan Quillo, the event planner, also was there and organizer. And we learned a lot about this situation. And one of the things I learned, I believe there's a huge bicycle ride coming through again here very soon, and they're coming through all the time. But a bicycle ride does not need a permit, as does a bicycle race. Is that correct, Stuart? You might be able to follow up with me when you do your report on that. But I think we as a city, and you will report on our next steps on what we're going to do to address this situation. But I want you to know that we were very concerned about it, and we did meet with that. Again, with Councilman Kowalczyk and with Councilman Alfano out of town, Councilman Patridge had a special day in her life, and so I was third string and went over, and Councilman Kowalczyk guided me through the SAM board, and maybe it was because I was there, but it was one of their shorter meetings, I think, ever, which was great, and but I learned a lot, and we will be hearing with the budget process coming very soon. Council of Cities was excellent, again, with probation and all the agencies involved there, the law enforcement agencies, and Marina set it up at Sam's Chowder House for the Council of Cities, and that's right, Siobhan and our staff, and boy, let me tell you, all our council members and mayors from throughout the county here were very happy to come to the coast, and it was a beautiful day. But extra special was Councilman Alfano was re-elected to the LAFCO board, which was a very good opportunity for him to continue on, and for us, for him to be elected on the first ballot. And I did a ribbon cutting at Via Uno. Unfortunately, I was in my work clothes, but I still had to do it. But the only one that criticized me is my wife on that one. But, you know, we have to work. And I'd like to thank our Public Works people and our staff for hanging the beautiful flower baskets on Main Street and painting the poles. The poles look wonderful. They're clean, and I think that's very important for us to have this beautiful Main Street going there, and it just shows how energized everyone is doing that. And I believe here in the future we're going to be looking at a little staff get-together again too someday here soon. So I think we've done quite a bit there. If I missed something, let me know, but we will continue on here with our next item on the agenda will be organizational excellence, our neighborhood watch program, and I'm not sure who's handling that. Oh, Lieutenant Muncie, I'm sorry. I thought you were here for the money.
Mayor, Council, thanks for the opportunity to profile the Neighborhood Watch program that the Sheriff's Office has assisted on.
Lieutenant, I'll get you to pull that mic a little bit closer, so we want to make sure everyone hears how important this is.
I speak a little softly, I'm sorry. Carry a big stick, though. I'm going to show you. Just to go over some of the goals, objectives, and outcomes of the program. First, obviously, the number one goal is to reduce crime. And by doing that, we improve the quality of life in the neighborhoods. But we really give the citizens the tools to make their own neighborhoods safer and bring the community closer together. Currently, we're very proud to say that we have 4 neighborhoods participating with approximately 200 of your community members participating as well. The first group I want to talk about was the Filbert Avenue group. They've been very active. Currently have signs at Filbert Avenue and Railroad, First Avenue and Filbert, and the mid-200 block of Filbert. Thanks. The next group is the Frenchman's Creek group. Again, a very active group. They're also really involved with CERT, and they're kind of combining both Neighborhood Watch and CERT to work out of Frenchman's Creek. Currently, we have signs up at the entrance to Frenchman's Creek, 2001 Bordeaux Lane, 2020 Trelane Lane, and 632 Rousseau Princess Avenue. And the next one. The Kehoe group is probably our most active group with the most members, and they're just doing a fabulous job. They're led by Jim Wedley, who's very active. We currently have signs there at Placidos Avenue and Wave Avenue, Placidos Avenue and Kehoe Avenue, and Wave Avenue and Cabrillo Highway, and Lauren Lane and Kehoe Avenue. And lastly would be our Leslie Gardens group with signs at Main Street and Popular Street and the entrance into the parking lot, 701 Arnold Way and the entrance into the parking lot, and Arnold Way at Colonel Way. And lastly, just what's next. We're going to be working with the different groups to assist them in putting on their own national night out. It should be coming up, I think the 5th of August, but it'll definitely be in August. It should be a really good group. Alex and I just received an email from one of the groups. They kind of wanted to jump ahead of August and try to put something out earlier where they were going to do a whole block party to bring awareness to crime prevention. We'll see if they want to do that or if they just want to hold off to National Night Out, because that's what we're looking to support. And as long as I had the floor, I did want to give a big thanks to Deputy Sean Chase, who really worked hard on this as one of our community policing deputies and started the organization. But since it took off, really with law enforcement, we're a resource for them. We've kind of pulled back and let them have their own leadership and go forward. And they kind of address the different issues that are in the different neighborhoods, because not all of them are the same. And I think we're really proud that within a year, we've gotten these 4 groups started and going.
Very good. Thank you, and thanks for all your officers that are helping you, and thanks to all our neighbors and friends that are stepping up for this neighborhood watch party, because we're all part of trying to ensure that everyone is safe in the neighborhoods as possible. I think we have a safe community, and I believe Lieutenant and I were talking that there was, they get a lot of calls, but a lot of calls are for accidents and medical, and fortunately, our crime rate is staying low, and we want to keep it that way. And so we thank you for that. And next item on the agenda will be our interim city manager. Stuart, please.
Thank you. There are 3 items that I'd like to talk about tonight. One is the bridge on the trail that you mentioned. We are in contact with the state about what their next processes are, and they are still muddling through the state level stuff. I talked to Dante today. He had talked to a couple of people who are involved in it, and what Dante and I are thinking is maybe to bring somebody from the state down to try and explain to the community what their process is, because this is a big issue for us, and it doesn't seem as if they are able to work their way through their system. So it might be good for them to explain what their system is and figure out where we can help them in their process. So I'll talk to Dante about seeing if we can arrange that. For the testing on the bridge, the council gave us the direction to move forward with that and to bring the scoping document to the council. We have that planned for May 20th. So we'll bring back the scoping document to the council. That way, not only can the council, but if the community wants to provide input, at that time we can take community input and work through our experts and figure out what the best scope of work is for that. And the third one is on the triathlon, and the mayor stole most of my thunder on all of that, and I appreciate that. It makes my job easier.
No, you repeat it probably more clear.
No, I'm sure I wouldn't. But we did have, we did have a triathlon come through the town, and triathlons are different than, as you said, than rides. Rides go with the flow of traffic, and therefore, when they're coming down on Highway 1, they're not asking the sheriff's department to prevent traffic from crossing their paths. Also, when they do a ride, they're supposed to follow all the laws of the road. Whereas when you do a triathlon in a race, there are times where they need to, since they're trying to get their best time possible, and this race is a sanctioned race for other types of events, so therefore the time is very important. The mayor is right that there was a fog delay which delayed the time when people got into the water. It made the swim a little bit harder than you would normally have expected, so there was a delay in when people got out of the water and on their bikes and through to the Johnston House. We did meet with all the different groups, as the mayor said, and one of the issues that came up was just making sure that we have the best permitting process possible. The person who's in charge, the organizer of the event, suggested that we look at a couple of other places, and I think one of the things that we need to come back to council at some future point with our permitting process, but I think one of the ideas that I have, and I've talked to staff a little bit about it, is that if we're going to have an event that crosses Highway 1, that we bring it to City Council for approval. And also, if we're going to have events that are going to be large events in community facilities, such as the Johnson House or any of the parks, that the City Council become aware of that and do an approval. So we're going to look through to see what other cities are doing on large events, on what they do with triathlons, how they notify the community, and all those things. And we'll bring back a package to the city council at a future date to make the permit process better. You know, this is one of those examples where, you know, it did not work as well as we had imagined in our minds when this was going forward. We thought doing the soft closure on Highway 1 was going to allow enough traffic to go through, but it was a different kind of process than what we've faced when we do rides through town. And I apologize for the inconveniences it caused for people, and that's, you know, my heart does go out because I understand how important of a day Easter is. We will not let that happen again. But also, it's a learning experience, and I appreciate all the comments I've gotten from the public on this to let us know how important it is. And, you know, a number of them had given us different ideas on what we could do differently going forward, and I take that, you know, to heart.
Thank you.
Can I make a comment on that? I think one of the key things is we need to make sure that if they are going to come back and do this, they need to stay on the west side of Highway 1. They should not be crossing Highway 1 at all. Because I don't care if you let them cross 1 or 2 spots, that's going to stop everything because it's a timed race. And it's really important if they want to come back here, and I'm going to hold firm on this, that they need to stay on the west side and go on the coastal trail or something where it's not impeding anybody. Because I think, you know, these bike races we have come through, they abide by the rules of the highway. They're not telling us to stop any kind of traffic for them and stuff. And I really feel sorry for those people. I mean, I got stopped by the officer when I was going to cross, but I saw a bike coming. So every time that happened, no matter where you were stopped. So I just think, you know, having them come to city council, I don't think is as necessary as crossing Highway 1. Just don't let them cross Highway 1.
I mean, that was the conversation we had with the organizer, that they would not be doing that again in the future. They do want to come back to Half Moon Bay. They found that it was a nice area. They are thinking maybe trying to do more of their route within the harbor itself, and I'm kind of curious how that works for them, because I don't know if it's big enough to be able to do a bike race and a run. But we did talk about not crossing Highway 1. We also, you know, talked about, you know, making sure it doesn't fall on an Easter Sunday as well. You know, their rule, you know, they like to have theirs on the 3rd Sunday of April. And, you know, they told me that it won't happen again until 2025, that it happens on Easter. So we'll have it in our notes that on that Sunday, if they're still in town, they will not be doing it on the 3rd Sunday in April. So there are a number of things that we learned, and yeah, crossing Highway 1 does not work for a race.
Thank you, Vice Mayor.
And not only crossing, it was the intersections. I had gone out there earlier in the morning too, and that really, as much as south of town, crossing Johnson House, was the intersections along each way, because you ended up, there was at El Granada, not so bad. Frenchman's Creek, again, not so bad for the people coming out, but once you got to Strawflower, you've got that entire intersection. So everyone from all angles was held up, once again, at Kelly Avenue. On both ends of Strawflower Shopping Center, you've got all those entryways. Everybody was stopped because they trickled along. Unlike when we've had the MGen Tour of California, you've got those elite athletes and they're in the, not a pentathlon, but they're in that peloton. They're in that peloton, they whoosh right through. We had rolling stops. So you've got Strawflower, both entrances, and then again at Kelly, you've got every intersection stopped. So it wasn't it couldn't be that, yes, they're just riding along the highway, because you're stopping. So clearly, if they're going to race Coastside Trail, you can go unimpeded for a long way.
Thank you, Councilman Walter.
Thank you. I have 2 comments. One, I want to thank the community members who called and emailed with their concerns. I had a similar issue in that I place a premium on my family time, and I spent my Easter service, church service, on Highway 1, and so wasn't able to participate in that. And that was most often what I heard from other members of our community is it interrupted their family time, interrupted their religious worship. And so I take that seriously, and it affects me personally. And I very much appreciate the summary that the mayor and the interim city manager provided. Yeah, I think and that's the first point. Second point is, I absolutely want this event to come back, and I don't want us to make the same mistakes again, and we won't. So I would agree, no crossing of Highway 1 unless there's some sort of structure created for the event that allows them to do so. A big old bridge. Anyway, if there's some solution, I'm open to solutions, but the idea is I would love that event to be here. I would love that event to not disrupt our flow of traffic because, you know, I was down at the starting point of the Half Moon Bay International Marathon last year, and the energy is amazing. The athletes and the casual athletes and the serious athletes, it's really amazing. And I'm sure it was the same with the triathletes, and I welcome them to be in our community, and we'll do a better job next time. The final point on this is signage leading up to the event. That was the other point I heard a lot from the community, that they want to be informed in a more visible, vocal way. And whether that's, you know, we of course announced it, but I think there should be some expectations for communicating through our local paper, and even a sign, you know, flashing sign on the highway kind of a thing. But those are my comments, and I trust we'll handle this better next time. Thank you.
Yeah, and I think in conclusion there, we talked about communication, and then even talked with all the county and highway patrol agencies. There's a lot of learning going on with all events because everyone wants to have an event. There's a lot of events in San Mateo County, as Lieutenant Muncy can tell you, and they all want to come to the coast. I think there's a big one coming to Pescadero soon and things like that. So we all need to work together, and we all are learning every time there's an event put together. So this time I'll move on to public forum, and thank you all for your patience. So my first card will be our visitor from San Mateo County. Is Assistant Controller Juan Regosa, please.
Well, I'd like to thank the City Council for the opportunity to speak today about the upcoming election in June. My name is Juan Regosa. I'm the current Assistant Controller for San Mateo County. I've been working in the office for the past 13 years, and I am running for County Controller. So what does the County Controller do? Well, the County Controller serves as the Chief Financial Officer for the county. We maintain the books for the county, and we produce the financial reports for the county. We also process all payments, so we essentially pay the bills. We, while the tax collector sends out the bills and collects the property taxes, we are responsible for distributing the property taxes to the schools, special districts, the county, and we also have an internal audit shop, which the purpose of it is to ensure that county operations are run efficiently with strong internal controls. As your next county controller, I would continue to ensure that we protect your taxpayer dollars, that we reduce costs by performing operational audits to ensure that all county departments, county programs do their operations in an efficient and effective manner. And also would like to continue to improve financial transparency. To this end, we recently launched the Open Checkbook, which allows anybody to go online and look up information about any payment issued by the county in excess of $5,000. We're one of the first government entities to do this in the country, so you should go check it out. And lastly, I would just would like to ask everyone to please vote. The election's coming in June 3rd, and to more specifically to vote for me as your next county controller. Thank you.
Thank you for coming over, and I wish you well. Next one be Sheharazad.
Thank you, Mayor and council members. I'm here to invite you to the Youth Summit, answer any questions you might have. I just want to thank the city for supporting this event. This will be our 3rd year doing it, and Lieutenant Munzie has done great stepping into the leadership role and facilitating it. We're going to have it on May 15th at Cunha. And this year, the school district has partnered really well with us, and we get the whole 8th graders, 6th and 7th period, and we'll have presentations for them, and then we'll open it up for the public for 3 to 5 to come. Lions, again, will come and do the barbecue. We have great presentations by the Sheriff's Office, by the FBI, and our friend, Dawn O'Keefe, Marshall O'Keefe, is sending over some resources from the Marshal's Office to participate too. And of course, you guys will be our guest of honors, and the school district board members, and Congresswoman Spear has also said that she'll be making a stop to say hello. So again, thank you for your support. And if you have any questions, you can ask Lieutenant Munzie or myself. We'd be happy to have you. And we actually are putting all of you to work, so hopefully you're able to attend.
Thank you. We're looking forward to it very much, and we know that you've reorganized enough to ensure that we get all those young boys and girls there to preach to them, and we can tell them you got a good chance here. Very good. So this one will be, next will be Joe Chamberlain, please, from the Coastside Land Trust.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you this evening. I originally had 3 items to speak with you about, but the mayor added a 4th, so I'll try to be quick. And that was thank you for bringing up the Songbird event this coming Saturday at the Senior Center. World famous Alvaro Jaramillo, who many of you probably know, is going to be teaching us how to identify songbirds and seabirds here on the coast from 1 until 2:30. And it's our first opportunity to be in the new Senior Center, which is gorgeous. So it's a lovely facility. I hope to see you there. The second item to speak about is we're working with the San Mateo County Pollution Prevention team who are sponsoring the National River Cleanup on May 17th. And we're taking that opportunity to return to the area behind Safeway on Pilarcitos Creek to continue the work we started last month in cleaning up the homeless encampments there. Same protocol. We have Coastside Hope helping us, the homeless outreach team helping us. Larry with Public Works is putting the dumpsters in place. The last cleanup, we picked up over 4,000 pounds of trash. The 2 dumpsters were overflowing. So we may not have quite as much this time, but we make sure that the people who are there are not disturbed in any way, and that they receive all the services from the agencies that are available in our community, which are extensive. So that's from 10 until noon. And we realize that the city owns that property, but again, as I mentioned the last time I spoke to you about this, we feel like we're part of the community, and we want to help be part of the solution to the situation there. My third item is to thank you for considering a letter of support to the California Coastal Conservancy in support of our request for a grant to construct a segment of the coastal trail on the south side of the Seymour Bridge. We were able to get funding, $246,000 from the Conservancy. San Mateo County Park Department is contributing $104,000 in equipment and labor. The Peninsula Open Space Trust has stepped forward, and the Coastside Land Trust is putting in funds as well. So the whole project is about between $400,000 and $450,000. And that doesn't count the $150,000 we just spent on planning. So it's very expensive, but fortunately the Conservancy is very supportive of helping get these projects completed. As part of this, this is my 4th item, was that the Seymour Bridge decided it didn't want to participate maybe in the coastal trail, and was potentially being eroded away. I spoke with the Peninsula Open Space Trust and the Coastside Land Trust, as well as they have a call into Mo Sharma to discuss taking the water out of the Seymour ditch and using it to reestablish seasonal wetlands on the Post property and the Coastside Land Trust property, hopefully thereby eliminating a lot of the water that's causing the erosion. So we're prepared to be part of the solution to that as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Charlie Hall, please.
Thank you, Mayor Miller. I'll try and get this where you can hear me. The main thing I wanted to come to do at the City Council meeting on behalf of the American Legion Coastside Post 474 was to thank the Mayor and the City Council for the proclamation they did for our 80th anniversary, which was April the 20th this year. So the number 474 indicates we were the 474th Legion Post in the United States that was formed. I currently serve as a finance officer for the Legion. Wanted to simply say thank you for that. We recognized that it was Easter Sunday, so we delayed our service until 4 o'clock in the afternoon, so we didn't conflict with religious services. And we had an excellent day. We also have a Facebook page. You can check it out. We have lots of pictures on there from our 80th birthday party. We had a very talented young lady that made a cake for us, 3-tiered layers with different types of cake on each layer, but had the American Legion logo right on the top layer, and that's on Facebook. On Memorial Day, a couple of other things that you need to know. We will have a formal service at the Post. This week we're taking 2 young students from Half Moon Bay High School to San Mateo for an orientation meeting for Boys State. And we also, the auxiliary that's part of our organization, has candidates for Girls State. For those of you that don't know what that program is, we send young people to the Capitol, and they actually run state government. It's an exercise that they learn how government works. I recently ran into one of the former candidate's father at the post office and asked how his son was doing. The one that he stands out in my mind was he was a bugler, and he used to play taps for us at Memorial Day and all the services that we had, which was kind of nice. But he's down in San Diego State in Santa Barbara doing just fine, but a nice young man. These kids are high achievers, have grade point averages of close to 4.0. They're selected, and they do a nice job representing us. The other thing was, again, just invite everybody to come Memorial Day. We'll have a formal service. We'll be serving food. And if they can't come to our service, the one that's really awesome to attend, and I've attended that one in uniform, is at Golden Gate National Cemetery. The day before, there's a whole crew of Boy Scouts and their parents that decorate every grave with a flag. So that day is pretty impressive. They have a flyover that day. They have full honor guard for the various services. And if you have never seen it, you should go. So that's all I had to say, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. That concludes our public forum. We will move on to next item on the agenda, consent calendar.
I would move for approval items 3 through 10.
I'll second, and if I may make a comment.
Please.
I just really appreciate the letter that you wrote in support of the grant funding for the trails, and I think that's a great continuation of the work on the coast and continues to make our home a better place. So thank you for that. With that, I'll second.
I have signed it also. So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. So
Aye.
ordered, 4-0. At this time, we will move on to item 11. And let me get to 11 here. I'm sorry, here I got a paper shuffle.
The sheriff's thing.
I think we're coming back here, yes. City manager, interim city manager, Stewart, please. I'm not sure who's going to handle this.
I was about to turn it over to Michelle.
Okay, we have Michelle. Thank you, Michelle. And you know what? We forgot to thank Michelle for the great work and staff has done regarding, and we all missed our Earth Day, and she was so instrumental in doing the great duty of sharing compost and other things too. So, and Vice Mayor was there.
Yes, it was such a fun day. I didn't think of it as work, so very good, Michelle. No, compost day, we had over, what, 75 people come?
81.
81.
We gave over, or close to 3 tons of compost. And we could not have done it without our staff, Siobhan and Carolyn, ordering, putting together giveaways for the children. And it was really nice to see so many people come out and not only load compost for themselves, but help others and spend hours there helping others. And so that was a lot of fun.
I'm sure the city attorney let us have a little waiver there of the agenda, but now we're back to business. But we're sorry, we didn't put that down. So now we're moving on to the agenda item 11, please, Michelle.
Okay, we're here tonight to talk about the Law Enforcement Services Contract Amendment Number 5. June 2011, we entered into an agreement for law enforcement services with the county through June 30th, 2016. Each year, per the agreement, the city amends that agreement to incorporate new rates and additional changes. Also included in that agreement is the contract that includes a clause that issues a credit for unfunded actuarial accrued liabilities paid to CalPERS. The maximum UAAL credit is $361,951, which results in a net contract cost of $2 million. The contract for this year is $2,375,642 for law enforcement services, which is a $50,000 increase from the previous year, overall 2.15% increase. The service sheriff's levels will remain the same. The biggest increase are for salaries this year for deputies and sergeants, record supervisors, community service officer, and the lieutenant salaries. Retirement rates also increased this year, radio costs, and a 3% increase in support services. And we recommend that you authorize the city manager to execute amendment number 5 to the law enforcement services contract. Are there any questions?
Councilman Patridge?
Unless there's any other comments, I would make the resolution to authorize the city manager to execute amendment number 5 to the law enforcement service contract. And then my personal comment is that I'm really, really happy with what the Sheriff's Department has done for the city of Half Moon Bay. And Lieutenant, if you could take that back to Sheriff Monks, how much we appreciate that, what he has done for the city and has kept his promises to us. And so I'm very thankful. I need to say that personally because I was very hesitant when this all happened. In fact, I was crushed when we lost our police department, and I'll tell you, the Sheriff's Department has done an outstanding job.
And I will second that with the comment that our law enforcement services are clearly top caliber, and we are well served, and I appreciate that as well.
And my comment is that, again, I think we get comments from other cities throughout the Bay Area regarding this contract services we made with our San Mateo County Sheriff's Office. And, you know, as Councilman Patridge stated, it was tough decisions, but let me tell you, again, the professional services we're getting and the job and the visibility of them all here, I think it was a wise decision. And I can only say that, you know, it doesn't cost, it pays. You have to have a service and you have to pay for it. And Our responsibility, we've stressed for many times when we're discussing the bridge issues and others, our role as elected officials is for the health and safety of this community. And I think this is another example of health and safety where we are making the right decision to approve this authorization for the city manager to execute the amendment for law enforcement services. So I have a roll call vote, please.
Yes.
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 Yes, so ordered. Moving on to item 12, please.
Thank you. What you have before you tonight is a question concerning participating with the county in a design and engineering work for reconstruction of the trail along, or not the trail, but along, protecting Highway 1 near Surfers Beach. The county has $200,000 that they have money for. Their project is a $400,000 project. They are trying to put together a coalition to pay for the other $200,000 for the design. Once the design work is done, it will become a Caltrans project. Caltrans is going to pay for the construction that is needed for protecting of Highway 1. The county has come to Half Moon Bay and asked for $100,000 if we can. They would, of course, accept the full $200,000. Unfortunately for us is that we have $100,000 available in our revenues from next year, but if we were to use another $100,000, it would have to come out of our reserves that we would have for we would probably need for other projects like working on Smithfield or working on the library, or a number of other projects that are important to us. As I've shown in the staff report, there's a number of components to this project. I show this on page 69. You have the retaining wall to support the existing embankment that extends approximately 150 feet from the existing drainage outlet to the south. There's a rock slope protection to be placed along the ocean side of the wall to provide energy dissipation and protect the wall from undermining. There's a reconstruction of the paved coastal trail adjacent to the retaining wall. There's a staircase to connect the paved coast trail to the beach, and then a 10-year monitoring plan that will provide annual geotechnical inspections of the improvements to assess their stability of the structure. Staff would recommend, having staff work with putting $100,000 into next year's budget. We would bring that back when we approve the budget, and that the staff would work with the county to determine the agreement that would need to be made. And we would ask you that you put in the budget and ask us to sign that agreement when we are done. We do have a representative of the Supervisor Horsley's office here tonight that can talk more about the project, since they're the ones taking the lead on it from the county's perspective. If you have any questions, I'm here to answer questions, but I would also suggest asking the representative from Horsley's office.
Thank you, and I will have him come forward. Supervisor Horsley and I have talked about this quite a bit here in the last couple of months, and I'm sure as able-bodied staff person can update us on the latest. But from my perspective, it is a vital link to this whole coast side, and I don't want to lose that link for sure. You think we have problems with Devil Slide? We all drive by there many times a day. So, and I know the supervisor had another engagement tonight, but he sure has done an amazing job representing the coast side. So I will let you go ahead and make some comments on behalf of your supervisor.
Mr. Mayor, council members, thank you for allowing me to speak here. Also, thank you for hearing this item.
May I have you give your name and title,
I
please?
apologize. Yes, my name is Nicholas Calderon. I'm a legislative aide for Supervisor Don Horsley. I'd also like to thank Interim City Manager Stewart. He's been phenomenal. He came in and picked up the ball on this, and we were able to run together quite fluidly on this. So I want to thank him for that. As he said, though, we have been working with Caltrans for several months now on developing a partnership that would developing a partnership that would develop a project to protect Highway 1 at Surfers Beach. Part of the project would also include a 400-foot long segment of the California Coastal Trail, as well as a vertical access staircase linking the trail to the beach. As many people know right now, in order to access the beach, you have to slide down the eroding embankment, which often causes injuries and ruins beach equipment, we'll say, surfboards, other items like that. And so, and as the mayor stated, this segment of the highway is extremely important. I've driven on that segment 4 times today. So, you know, it's a very popular area. Immediate proximity to it is El Granada's commercial area, Sam's, Beach House, Pillar Point Harbor, Oceana, Hotel and Spa. So it's extremely important for us to preserve it, and we're very happy to hear that it's also a priority for you as well. As stated, we have an agreement with Caltrans that if we are to obtain $400,000 to bring the project to construction ready, they will take care of the rest of the cost, which is estimated just north of $1 million. So we are extremely excited about this project. It's a high priority for Supervisor Horsley, and we appreciate you guys considering this item tonight. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Nicholas. Vice Mayor?
Thanks, Nick, for coming here. You may have been at that meeting several months ago out at the harbor. Sheriff Horsley was there when the Army Corps of Engineers came out. I'm glad the county is picking up the ball on some of this, because I was sitting with the county manager, and it was a little disappointing to hear the Army Corps of Engineers, they have to contribute to helping fix the erosion. And between the two of us, we figured it was going to be at least 6 years of planning. And although they said they had $5 million that was budgeted, it actually was not allocated. And the disturbing thing in that was that they hadn't even spoken to Caltrans. And Dave Holland and I just looked at each other. It's like, there's got to be another way. And Supervisor Horsley was there. You know, the erosion that is happening there is very serious, and you know, that is an important road that we go up and down, as well as the trail there. So I know we're starting someplace, but this cannot end here, and I think we need to look at other avenues of funding on a state or federal level, and push the Army Corps of Engineers for their involvement in this, because we're all going to be in a very bad situation if that road continues to fall, or there isn't a plan, both short-term and long-term, for that area. So thank you. This is, I look at this as a first step.
And it was my understanding, speaking with the supervisor, we are kind of a little bit in limbo right now. Again, we're a little bit on hold. Is that correct? With the many agencies involved?
For the project at Surface Beach, or the Army Corps of Engineers project?
The total plan in itself, I thought we were it's going to be some delays for now. Is it?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, that's correct. We're currently working through some details with Caltrans and the Coastal Commission. We're bringing the Coastal Commission in early on to make sure that we don't have any problems on the back end with this project. So it's not taking off tomorrow, but we are pursuing it aggressively. But yes, there have been some road bumps.
We do projects on the coast, so we understand that completely. I think the main thing is they were looking at to secure what funding our city could give them. And, you know, we were talking at possibly securing $100,000 in this item here, as I understand it. And they won't be coming and grabbing it next week because it's a process, again, like we all go through. So I think staff's recommendation is here. It's up to the council. I'd like to speak. You're more than welcome to speak, Madam Council Member.
Okay, I have a real different perspective on this whole issue. Number one, this whole issue was caused by the Army Corps of Engineers when they put the breakwater in. And that's what started all the erosion and the lateral shifting of all the sand down to Pescadero, away from Dunes Beach and from Half Moon Bay. We have constantly been telling the Corps that we are having the erosion problem, and nothing was done. So I was very upset when I saw this come to me, and you can ask the interim city manager that I was not happy about it. And I'll tell you why. Because we are now solid in our funding as far as for city services and city projects. And I just don't want us to be paying for what other agencies should be doing. Number one, the county. The county just passed Measure A for capital projects. To me, this is a capital projects that sounds like it's more for their trails and the passage. I can see us participating in maybe part of the road kind of a thing, but the trail thing, there's a lot of funding for trails in San Mateo County. And, you know, the county has not applied for some of those fundings and things. So being on the BPAC and on the trail committee, I know that for a fact. So I just don't want, and, you know, I would begrudgingly give them 100,000. I will not give them 2. We have 100,000 left in our reserve. I would really like those monies to stay within our city and the projects that we want to get done. But I understand the retaining wall and all that kind of stuff, but the retaining wall, I'll tell you right now, is not going to help. They need to do something besides just a retaining wall, because the retaining wall is still going to erode because it's still going to be hitting. I mean, it's just like in Pacifica, those poor houses that went down, you know? So unless you correct Mother Nature, and we screwed Mother Nature when we put in the breakwater. So, you know, no, well, it's great because it protected the harbor and for the fishermen, but the outcome was, you know, it hurt other parts of the coastline. So that's my 2 cents, but yeah, I'm really tight with city money.
It's another San Gregorio engineer on the council here.
I'm not an engineer, I'm just saying my personal.
Come on. Councilman Kowalczyk.
Thank you. So Nicholas, thank you for coming tonight. I do have a question for you, and then I have a comment for the council. So could you just give me a little bit of history? Has Caltrans come out and evaluated the roadway and the trail and that area and given its opinion of it?
So Caltrans is monitoring it, and based on documents that we've received, their estimate is that the embankment erodes about between 12 and 18 inches a year, approximately. Now this year we've obviously had a very dry year. There's conversations about next year being an El Nino year, so you know it's on a year-by-year basis. So they are monitoring it, and they are of the opinion that that eventually something will happen there. They are hesitant to put a specific timeline on what they think, other than the fact that they do believe a project at this location, a project of the kind that we're discussing here, would protect the roadway, and building it to Caltrans standards, which right now the conversation is a sheet pile retaining wall along with rock slope protection to Caltrans standards would provide several decades of protection, and we would hope that within that time the Army Corps of Engineers would figure out what they're doing, which would provide an additional level of protection there.
Thank you. And just sort of a random question, did Caltrans by chance give it a rating on a 100-point scale? Just rhetorical. It's inside joke, sorry. And then to the council, so I hear what Naomi Councilmember Patridge is saying loud and clear. When we raised extra revenues through Measure J, we made very sure that Half Moon Bay dollars were spent on Half Moon Bay assets, and I think that's really important. And I also am hearing that there may have been, or there may still be, grant monies available for trail projects. I'm assuming this project would not start, there's some delays, would not start Monday, but there'd be some time in there. And I also agree that the 100,000 would be max, but I'd like to tie to that comes along with the requirement that the counties seek out grant funds for the trail that are available. Does that sound unreasonable or appropriate? And now, of course, Nicholas, I'll ask you for your reaction, but I'm curious what the council thinks of that, or is that tying the hands and not appropriate in your opinion?
Vice Mayor?
Because I see two things here. You've got a retaining wall. It may not be the end-all answer, but it's a start. I think I'd like to see the county really push Caltrans. We cannot lose that road. That is the last piece of road to the end of the city limits. And again, that's why I want to stress the short term or the long term. Does Caltrans own that land? That's a little further inland, so the road would come in a little further, because I don't want to see a situation where they just reroute all traffic down to the existing road that already exists there. So I think we need to be aggressive with this, because the civil engineers, that money is, and they said they're not even sure if it's really their fault too. I mean, I couldn't have been more disappointed with that meeting months ago. So, I think we have to pursue this aggressively before that road does go down, both short-term and long-term, because we're all going to be in a lot of trouble. That is a road of commerce. That's just a road that people travel on to get back and forth, and kids and buses and everything. So I don't want this to be like a devil's slide situation. So I'm happy to allocate $100,000 now, because it's not just a trail. It's part of a wall. It's not the end all to it. And yeah, we can get other trail money somewhere, but it's the start of something to get people to recognize what a problem we have, because this is going to be forever for permits.
Thank you, Councilman Kowalczyk.
So I think we do not need a motion, right? This is to direct staff to include this in the budget. Is that correct? So I'd like to suggest we direct staff to include the $100,000 in the budget, and we encourage the county to seek out grant funds for to be used on the trail in that location. Make sense?
It's a motion? Okay. Direction.
Nicholas, maybe you can answer my question. I was surprised to hear that Caltrans' design is for the retaining wall and the wall of rocks and stuff, you said? I was shocked when you said that. Has that been approved by the Coastal Commission? Because they have not approved any of those. They've made people take them out. So I'm surprised if they said okay there.
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Mayor, through the mayor. We've had conversations with the Coastal Commission. The design features that Caltrans is referring to is a design feature that we have noticed they use in project areas when the roadway has already failed. And so therefore they have the ability to do projects that may otherwise not be permitted under different circumstances. The Coastal Commission does understand that this is a unique circumstance, and given that it is it's a vital roadway and access point for both Half Moon Bay and the Mid-Coast, they are understanding of that, and so they have been willing to have these conversations with us. Nothing has been permitted, and the Coastal Commission hasn't signed off on anything yet, but they are in the process of reviewing a scope of work for a consultant, and they have been very understanding to this point. Like I said, given that this segment is essential to standard living and commerce in this area, they've been extremely supportive in our efforts.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I think, just to comment with Councilman Kowalczyk, I believe that section is in the city limits also. So when we're concerned about funding in the city, and with all respect, that west side of the highway is city limits all the way to Sam's Chowder House.
No, the beach, the thin piece.
I understand, but that, we could debate that. I think we actually, well, we could possibly own part of the harbor also.
I think
That's another subject to go into someday.
I mean, the important thing is it's a major access for us, north and south, that, this is an issue that, and I would agree with Councilman Patridge, that, from my time down south, jetties into the ocean stop sand from flowing where it naturally flows. We need to do, I think, what we can to give the Army Corps of Engineers as much time as possible, because having worked through with Army Corps of Engineers, decades is kind of a year to them. They have a different time frame. So if we can do something that can preserve that and allow the Army Corps to figure out how they have caused some issues, and they can fix those, that is in our best interest. Because if Highway 1 goes there, we are going to see that whole double slide kind of issue happen again, where we're going to have that inability to get traffic north and south. So, I think from that perspective, as a city manager, participating in this, whether it's directly in our city or not, it's an important aspect for our city. And I know that we encompass that area in some fashion, driving down that every day.
Thank you. So I think you understand that we're in agreement to direct staff to move forward with this item there, recommendation. So we will continue the city council meeting into closed session, so we will clear the room. And I'm not sure exactly where we will continue the meeting, next door. So we'll ask all the cameras to be put away, and we thank all of you for coming this evening, and thank you, staff, for your hard work. Well, we started the meeting, but also when we adjourn the meeting this evening, we can't adjourn it now. We'll be definitely adjourned in memory of Eddie Andrini. It has to be continued because we're going to closed session. So without a doubt, we are in memory of our family, Eddie Andrini.